Hey, I'm Leah of Green Leaf Geek, and this is my iPhone box or phone box dice tower tutorial. So all you need for this is a phone box and its contents. You need both pieces, the lid and the bottom and the inside. You'll need a hot glue gun and lots of glue. Don't run out, learn from my mistake. A straight edge ruler, a sharp blade or two, and something to cut on. So I would recommend a self-healing cutting mat, but if you use cardboard, that's fine too. Just make sure it doesn't slip on you. So first we're going to remove this inside piece of the box. Just to facilitate that, I'm going to take my sharp blade and cut around the edge of the iPhone insides. And that middle chunk we're not going to use, so if it does happen to get mangled while you're putting it out, that is okay. As you can see, mine's coming out in many chunks. Now, this sort of inside lining we are going to use, so take good care of it. So we're going to cut that into 4 pieces right along the pre-measured edges there, and we're going to use all 4 pieces, so try to keep them as intact as possible. And always pay attention to where your fingers are when you're using a sharp blade like this. So we're going to set aside the 2 small pieces for now, but don't toss them because you do need them. So first we're going to take those 2 longer pieces and reaffix them to the inside of the box with some hot glue. Be generous here. It doesn't matter if it's a little messy because anything on the inside of the box you are not going to see once it's finished. So put a generous amount of hot glue there and press it down. Use lots of force. You want this to be nice and flat. And then repeat on the other side. Done. Okay, on to the next step. Now we're going to build the ramp at the bottom that your dice slide out from. So you're going to take one of those short pieces. We are going to trim it. As you can see, it's a little bit too big to fit in there right now. So we are going to trim it to fit back into the box. So just use your sharp blade there to cut the edge off. You can freehand it if you want. I found it was a little bit difficult to cut on that sort of beveled edge there, so I'm using my clear ruler here to get a really good straight line on that because we want it to fit in pretty nicely to that box. And the other edge too. And again, this is where a self-healing mat works better just because it doesn't slide around on your table the same way cardboard does. So just make sure your piece fits in before you actually bust out the hot glue on this one. It's nothing worse than having hot glue and having it dry on you while you try to fit something. So you want a generous amount of your hot glue here all along the top line. And then tuck that ramp back in at about maybe a 45-degree angle or so, and then apply good pressure while that sets a little bit. Once that has set, you're going to take that hot glue and run another bead right along the bottom, and then clean it up a little bit with either you can use a toothpick or I'm just using my x-acto knife here because the glue comes off nicely once it's dry. Now we're going to use that other short piece and just cut a line right along the middle there, and these are going to become the 2 ramps that the dice go down. So you can use that sharp blade if you want. I actually happen to have a paper slicer and I'm going to use that. So I'm going to score the first side here and then flip it over and just score the other side the same way. Okay, so same deal. We're just going to trim the little edges here so that they fit back into the box. And that's both. So we'll start with the top one. So find where you'd like to put it. I'm putting it down about an inch and a quarter from the top of the box. Be generous with the hot glue here. You want this to be as sturdy as possible so it doesn't get knocked off when you start rolling dice through your tower. So tack it in at a fairly steep angle. You want there to be enough room for the dice to roll through the box and not get stuck. I had that issue a little bit with my first one, so you want to make sure that it's angling quite far down. And once that's set a bit, take your hot glue and run a bead along the top and the bottom of both of the short edges of that ramp, and then use either your toothpick or your x-acto knife to just smooth that out so that all of the surfaces of those short edges are covered. This is just going to make that ramp extra sturdy. And then just give it a little test. Make sure it seems like it's really on there. That seems good. And then you can clear up the little stringies and stuff at the end. Again, they're not going to be visible, so if they don't bother you, they're fine. So for this second one, this one's a little bit trickier. So again, it's going to have a really steep angle down so your dice can fit through. This one put about 2 inches below the first one. And this one we're going to set flush with the top of that cardboard edge on the 2 long sides, because the front panel is actually going to sit along it as well. So you're applying the hot glue to both short sides here. So you're going to have to hold this one pretty tightly while it starts to set. And again, you're lining it right up. Sorry about my hand. You're lining it right up flush with the side long panels there on the inside, so that when you place the front panel, it's all nice and flat. So as you can see here, it just lines up with the sides. And then run the extra hot glue along the top and the bottom. Smooth that out to make it nice and sturdy, and make sure while that hot glue is drying, you adjust it if need be so that it's nice and flush. Next, we are going to cut the hole in the top of the dice tower for the dice to go into. So the end where you didn't place your ramp is where you're going to be making these cuts. So I like to have nice even lines, so I'm going to measure mine out with a clear flat edge, straight edge. Just going to mark a couple of marks here where I'm going to do my cutting, and this doesn't have to be perfect because again, you're going to be cutting it out, so once it's cut out you won't be able to see it anyway. Just make a nice straight line that I can cut along. And then be very careful with your fingers. Nobody needs to lose a digit over a dice tower. And cut along your nice lines. You can make this opening as big or as small as you like, obviously as long as a die fits through it. I made mine bigger just so that I would have room to roll a few dice at a time, but really this is up to you. The smaller you make the hole, the sturdier your box will be, so really kind of a matter of personal preference at this point, but I like the ability to roll, 5 or 6 dice at a time. Okay, so now that that is out, we're nearly there. A couple of little steps left. So you can trim out the little fluffy bits that come out after you cut that cardboard. What I've done here, just to make it a little bit prettier, is take some washi tape that I had and just apply it around the edge, and this just kind of makes a nice clean edge along the top of the box. You do not have to do this, it's 100% optional. I just think it looks pretty. Plus it's green, it's kind of my thing. Okay, so now we're going to make the front panel. So I've just used the inside of the sort of contents of the iPhone box because it already perfectly fits the box. You don't even need to measure. All you're going to do is take your sharp edge and cut 1/2 of the packaging out. You can really just cut right along those lines. You don't even really need to use a ruler because it's already cut and measured there for you. So I'm just trimming a little excess off. And then I'm just gonna set that on here. Now, if you want to do any decoration on your front panel, now is the time. Once it's attached, it's a lot harder to decorate with anything that requires any sort of pressure. So I'm using a beautiful hand-cut stamp that I have from Owl Post Goods, which is, as you will see in a moment, a golden snitch on my dice tower. So now that that's there, I'm going to take that panel and put it back on the box. See how lovely that fits, like a glove. And then I'm just going to make a little mark about 1.5 inches from the bottom of the tower to mark off where I'm going to cut, because we need room for the dice to come out at the bottom. And then here, so that I don't smudge my fresh stamp, I'm just going to turn that around. If you have a cutting mat, a self-healing cutting mat or something like that, that is much better to use than the cardboard that I'm using. It keeps things from slipping around on you while you cut. It's actually much safer for that reason. So if you have something like that, a cutting mat or something that will hold your paper while you cut, absolutely use that. My recording setup just didn't work for my cutting mat, so you get cardboard. Try and make that cut as clean as possible because that's going to be the very visible part of your tower. Okay, so that's done. Now we are attaching the final piece. So we want to be as neat and tidy as possible again, because everything you're doing now is going to be visible. So take your glue gun, run a nice thin bead of hot glue along both sides, and I've actually just marked here with a pen where that paper ends, so I know where to stop with the hot glue so we don't get any excess. So I'm just going to run a thin bead of hot glue down the sides here and the front as well of that bottom shelf. We want to make sure that that gets glue so that the front panel doesn't come away from it while you're rolling. Also to make it a little extra sturdy because it didn't get that long line of hot glue along the back that the other one did. Make sure you stock up on hot glue before you do this craft as well, because I ran out and it was a pain. And there you have it. Make sure you press very tightly along those. You don't want that to come out while you're rolling. But you are done. You have a completed dice box, dice tower. Congratulations. Now, obviously, you can decorate it any way you want. You can add, you know, colorful tape. You can paint. You can add stickers. So here's the finished product, just to show you how easily it opens and closes. Obviously it's meant to fit there, so it folds in nicely. It's really easy to transport. And yeah, now I find with the washi tape, it is a little bit harder to open, but still doable. This is another box that I made previously, and I just spray painted the top cover of the box to hide the iPhone label. I really like it. I think it gives it a little extra something, and I just used a metallic spray paint that I got from the hardware store. So you can really customize this any way you want. Thanks for watching. Follow me on Twitter at Green Leaf Geek.